Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. So get the formalities out of the way real quick. If you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for today is, what do you think about Battlefield game set up like PlanetSide 2? Perma-world setting and all that good stuff. This conceptually sounds incredible. The first time I read your comment, I immediately thought of an idea or a setting where you start off in something like Albor's Mountain from Battlefield 3. This gorgeous landscape, you're in this gorgeous mountainside, and then you slowly work your way down the mountain until you reach a city, something like Strike at Karkan. You can then make your way further down that mountainside until you reach a map much like Gulf of Oman where you're near the ocean. How cool would that be? Like, if it was constant and there was just awesome ebb and flow, this tug of war on the map, much like in PlanetSide 2, in the Battlefield universe, that is a really cool idea. The problem with this idea, though, is that it essentially would just be a carbon copy of PlanetSide 2, but set in a modern military setting. You wouldn't have all the cool aspects that make Battlefield amazing. You wouldn't have those gorgeous graphics, you wouldn't have the destruction or anything like that, because the game itself and the engine probably wouldn't be able to load all of those assets in great detail like we do in Battlefield, but also have that awesome destruction that the franchise is known for. The reason why PlanetSide is PlanetSide and doesn't have amazing destruction, well, the graphics are fine. Like, if you really bump up the graphics, it does look really pretty, but you don't have that type of fidelity that you have in the Battlefield franchise, simply because computers would blow up if they even attempted to have that type of graphic fidelity. And so if they did decide to do this for the Battlefield franchise, while once again, conceptually it sounds incredible, I just don't think it's feasible, especially on the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4, and admittedly even on PC. Like, you would have to have like a $4,000 rig if you wanted to have everything that we've kind of grown to expect in the Battlefield franchise. I mean, we already struggle with poor netcode. Now imagine having just thousands of different assets on these maps, crazy amount of destructible objects everywhere, and then millions of players on any particular map. I don't know if the Frostbite engine is even capable of having that amount of things going on at once. Who knows? Maybe it is. I haven't worked with the Frostbite engine. I have not worked as a developer on a video game, but if Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 is any indication of how much the engine already struggles with netcode, with what we already have in the game, expanding upon that tenfold or expanding, PlanetSide 2 is massive. Putting the Battlefield franchise into that type of universe, I just don't know if it would exactly be possible unless we wanted to chip away at all of the things that we've grown to expect from the series. The next question for today comes from Cameron, and it is, what do you think about the addition of a theater mode in future Battlefield titles? Because I always wish that I'd be able to watch where I screwed up in previous matches and learn from my mistakes to get better. What are your thoughts? I would love to have a battle recorder or a theater mode in Battlefield 4 because there are so many benefits that would stem from this if they were able to add it in correctly. First of all, it makes for awesome montages. You sniped a helicopter pilot out of his vehicle from a mile away while using a bolt-action rifle. We'll put that in slow motion and get it from 5 different angles. Giving players robust tools to make these amazing montages or movies or whatever you want to call it is always good for the community. I mean, the reason why Battlefield is in the state that it is right now is because of YouTube. And really, this is true for all of the big video games out there. Look at Minecraft, for example. You have a video game that does well on a platform like YouTube because of awesome movies or commentaries and things like that. You give a tool that allows people to make even better content, I can almost guarantee that that game overall is probably going to perform better over the long term. Not only that, but it would also be a huge boon to the competitive scene. Being able to record matches and then go back later figuring out what mistakes you did throughout the entire round is incredibly beneficial. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say the reason why the competitive scene is as bad as it is right now in Battlefield is because we don't have a theater mode. It's because, well, the launch of Battlefield 4 was terrible. I mean, netcode was awful for months, like half a year. It was just awful. That's the reason why the competitive scene is bad. But I can guarantee in the next Battlefield game, if they're able to have a stable launch and there was a theater mode, that would be just an amazing addition for the scene overall. My one issue with it though, and this could just be me being naive, is if this is constantly running in the background, it's recording everything that's going on in this match, all the destructible objects, every bullet zipping around, every player movement. Would that negatively impact the netcode? We already have a problem with netcode, and while it's a hell of a lot better than it was right now, if it did cause more lag or more of these netcode related issues, I don't know if that would be worth it. Once again, I could have no idea what I'm talking about, and that could be a non-issue, and hopefully it would be a non-issue, but overall, if it would work and would have no negative impact on the gameplay itself, I think that this would be a phenomenal, just an amazing addition into the Battlefield franchise. The next question for the day comes from Connor, and it is, what do you think of the support class losing their LMGs in Hardline? Personally, I'm disappointed. Well, you have to remember that Hardline is going to be a different beast balance-wise compared to something like Battlefield 4, and that's all due in part because Visceral is trying to make it feel more like cops versus criminals. They're trying to fit that theme. You would never see a cop running around with an M60 light machine gun. Like, no one is going to be able to get their hands on that type of firepower. And while I think that there are going to be an elite faction, the rumor is that there's going to be 4 factions in Hardline. You're going to have your normal cops, SWAT, and then there's going to be your grungy gangster criminals, and then there's going to be your elite professional robbers and things like that. And so while maybe this elite organization of criminals would have access to the black market, allowing them to use light machine guns, I'm leaning more towards Visceral's decision with just giving the support class the battle rifles. You're still going to perform very well with them. Like, I had no problems competing with all of the other weapons in the game, but it is going to change your playstyle when you are playing as that class. What Visceral is trying to do here is that they are trying to make Battlefield Hardline feel like a cops versus criminal themed game. You guys all know that when you played the alpha a couple of months ago, one of the largest complaints was that it felt like a mod for Battlefield 4. And so over this last couple of months, Visceral has done whatever they can to make the distinction that this is its own unique game and it's not just going to be exactly the same that we've been playing over the last couple of years. And so personally, while I can definitely see where you're coming from, if you love light machine guns and you just learned that there isn't going to really be any in Hardline, I can get why you're disappointed, but thematically and just making that larger distinction between the two games, I think is going to be a good thing. The next question for today is, what do you think of a straight pull on the new Phantom Bow, like with the sniper rifles, which allows you to reload a new arrow while aiming down sight? This will allow you to fire a little bit faster so you don't get destroyed when going up against assault rifles. I don't know what to think about the Phantom Bow anymore, because DICE has come out and said flat out that it is meant to suck. It is meant to be underpowered compared to all of the other primary weapons in the game, and you're not meant to do well with it. And while I get that, it's a bow, you know, you're shooting arrows at someone who's using an assault rifle, at the same time, it's a primary weapon, and it's abysmal. Like, it just flat out sucks. There are so many things that are holding this thing back. And so, yeah, I do agree with you. If there was some way at increasing the power, I'm all for it. But it seems like DICE has no intention of buffing the weapon because it's meant to be a gimmick. It is supposed to be abysmal. I don't really get that mentality. There are a lot of gimmicky gadgets, there are a lot of gimmicky weapons in Battlefield, and I don't understand why they would take the development time of adding in animations, adding in pretty much all of the assets that it required in creating a new weapon, and then just having it to the point where it's so bad that no one ever is really ever going to use it. I just have a hard time wrapping my brain around that idea. Personally, what I would like to see done is to eliminate the vapor trail. This is meant to be a stealth weapon. Why is there this white beacon letting the enemy know my exact location after I fire the weapon? But also eliminating the power that the defensive field upgrade path holds over the bow. Getting a hit marker on someone who normally would have died with a one shot, but because they're using that field upgrade, stings. Like, that is a slap in the face. And so, in my opinion, if they were able to make those two slight changes, while I do not think that it would be all of a sudden on par with all of the other weapons, I still think that it would be a very, very underwhelming weapon. That would at least make it more consistent and less frustrating while using on the battlefield. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you would like to submit your own question that can be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.